Machine.
Hi there, it's Claire here, and welcome to Hot Pod Time Machine. This is the podcast where we discuss a decision from our past which changed the trajectory of our future. And I'm very excited to have this special guest on this episode. It's the lovely Nick Apostolides. Hi, Nick.
Hello,
Yay.
lovely to be here as usual.
Yes, very excited. So for those who don't know, just to spoil the magic, usually I have a chat with the guests before the podcast starts recording, and we were talking about my famous tuna meatballs. That's what we were talking about.
She's going to smuggle into Barcelona somehow.
Which I'm going to smuggle.
We'll talk about that later.
I've been told to smuggle like a drug dealer into another country, or else I'm not allowed to come into that country. We're gonna have to have a cook-off at some point. Your meatballs versus my meatballs.
You got it.
Okay, cool. Well, I think you're gonna win. That's what I think. Like, I'm not very good. I can beat you at Mario Kart, but not cooking. Well, that's the thing that you might be better at.
Please, hanging on to the past.
Hanging on to the past, the present, and the future. It's okay. It's okay, Nick. It's fine. We won't
I'm
start
never
there.
going to live that down, am I?
No, you're not. You're not. It's because you came at me. So now I'm just going to bury you into the ground with it. That's what happens. But I'm very humble. If I know I'm shit at something, I will just say, not very good at it.
Consider me buried permanently,
You said
perpetually.
double dash. Double dash is your thing. So I'm like, well,
It is.
cool. So, well,
Well, anyways, but thanks for having me, Claire. I feel like I've been on your show so many times. I got to start paying you to appear now.
that's fine.
I'm gonna
If you want
you're going to start
pay-
charging me?
Yeah, if you want to pay me, that's fine. Or just cook me meals when I get to LA. I'm totally happy for someone to just cook for me. That's totally fine.
Got it.
I can get paid in food. Nick, when I asked you to come on the podcast and I told you what this podcast was about, like, don't tell me what you're about to talk about. What kind of decisions were sort of flashing through your mind? Because, you know, we make so many decisions in our lives, like tiny ones and really huge ones. What kind of came to mind for you first?
It was actually a really tough one for me to think about because of the possibilities. As you know, I'm a thinker, and you ever seen that movie Butterfly Effect?
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
Remember that was a pretty wild movie, but I do kind of believe in that every little decision that you make, and it can be minuscule, tiny little decision. I think those can have like permanent ramifications on your life, and you could think about it backwards and be like, well, what if I did this? This would have happened, this could have happened, and this wouldn't have happened. And it, like, you go down this rabbit hole. And so I was trying to think to myself, like, what is profound enough that it would be decent for a chat anyways? And I was like overwhelmed with the possibilities because we could sit for hours and talk about this shit.
100%. 100%.
It was a good, of all the times I've like been on your show and done fun things and streams and everything, this was the one that had to make me think the most. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry I had to make you think. I'm sorry to make you use your brain.
You should be.
So tell me, what is the decision that you want to talk about that changed your future?
Well, there's a few of them, and we'll just see how the vibes go. You know how sometimes that you say, you've called me Batman in the past.
Yes.
You're such a Pisces, you don't have to be Batman.
Wow, great accent. That's a good start. Wow, we're only like 4 minutes into this podcast. Okay. Go on. Keep
Pretty
going.
good, though. I've been practicing my Claire accent, and I'm not good with accents. Anyways, let's see. This was something that happened that I think it revealed to me that I had a lot of inadequacies, and showed me that I had to work on a lot of stuff. And it actually drove me into therapy. And I think it's a pretty pivotal moment.
Okay.
And that was the day I challenged you to Mario Kart.
It's okay. I'll buy you an extra packet of Oreos next time I see you. It's fine.
It showed me that my bark is worse than my bite. And no, kid. Nah, that's a lie. Let's see. Okay.
Okay.
I didn't want it to be like something cliche or anything, but this one big crossroad decision in my life, I can kind of connect it to so many big changes that happened, like building blocks ever since then. And this happened back in like 2006. So I think I might have told you, I did tell you, that I worked for Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the way that came about was this. I was in college, university, whatever you call it there, and I was going into my senior year, okay? And so it was going to be the last time I was with my friends, the last parties that we were going to have. And I got this email. It was for a college program in Disney World in Florida. And I went to school in New England, up in Massachusetts. And this college program said you need to be enrolled as a student in college, and then you come to work for Disney for a semester. And you get the co-op experience, put that on your resume, and then you go back and you finish university and get your degree. And the only time I could have done that was going to be my last semester in university. So my parents always thought it would be great for me to work at Disney. I didn't know what I wanted to do. My first job I ever wanted to be when I was a kid was an architect. And I was so creative as a kid, they said, you'd be a good Imagineer. Those are the architects and the engineers at Disney. Mm-hmm. And they said, this is your opportunity. You could go to Disney, get your foot in the door. And I said, yeah, but I would have to leave my friends for the last semester of university and not graduate with them. I would have to graduate the following year with the younger class. I'd miss out on all the parties, the graduation parties. I'd miss it all because I'd be in Florida. And they said, hey, it's up to you. That's a big decision. And I saw this as my last opportunity to get my foot in the door in a huge company like that. And so I lost sleep over this decision, and I'll try to get to the point. I decided to go, and I said goodbye to all my friends. And I said, I'll see you next year, And when I went to Disney, I worked, I wasn't an engineer, obviously, and I was working as a boat captain. I said, give me a microphone. I want to work on a ride. So I wanted like the great movie ride or something, or, something like that. And they gave me this vegetation ride about hydroponics and how you grow vegetables. Fascinating stuff. Note the eye roll. Anyways, this is really important that you understand that what Disney did for me is a lot of things. And number one, it introduced me to international people. So I was living in this little bubble in Massachusetts. I went to school in Massachusetts. I'd never really traveled. And for the first time, I was meeting people from all over the world. Disney is an international company. I was in Epcot, and I was partying with kids from all around the world. And I was like, wow, this is fascinating. These cultures are amazing. Wow, awesome. And I wanted more. And also another thing that experience was, as far as hospitality goes, Disney is one of the most recognized companies in the world for guest service. They have the highest standards and they hold you to it. And my 8 or 9 guest service managers said I was so good at what I did because I loved people. They said, you should go into hospitality when you get back to Boston after college. Hospitality. And I was like, well, what do you mean, restaurants? And they said, no, you should work in hotels. You'd be really successful in like luxury hotels. And I said, okay. I trusted it because I didn't really have a direction. So when I got home, I graduated, got my degree, and I got a pretty swank job at a 4-star hotel in Boston. And I bypassed a lot of their credentials that you need. Like they wanted like 2 to 3 years in hospitality experience or hotels. They wanted, you had to start at the front desk and work your way up. I had nothing but the fact that I had Disney on my resume.
Oh.
They literally just took me and they bounced me to this next position.
Wow.
As a private level, executive level club concierge. And it's a highly sought after job. I made a lot of money at age 25, 26, 27, whatever. I was making bank, and that's because of Disney. It also showed me hospitality. Now, let's go further now. So while I was working in this hotel for 3 years, I still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I liked what I was doing. I liked being around people. I was around international people. And did we talk about acting and how I began acting, Claire?
I think we did, but you can say it again for the purposes of the podcast.
Sure. So I've heard this in the past. someone said that if 3 strangers in your life tell you something, that is the universe trying to speak to you. And so
Oh,
if 3 people say the same thing, it's maybe something that you might want to think about.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so when I was working in these hotels, I had return guests that would see me like once every month or twice a month. I had new guests that I would meet, and I heard about 50, 60 times that I should try acting. They said I should attempt acting, or they asked me if I was an actor. And after I kept hearing it, I was really curious. I'm like, well, why would you say that? No, I haven't, but why? And they said, because you have very honest eyes. Because
Wow.
and they said that's what acting is. It's all in the eyes and how you speak to people. And if you can do that believably, in a role like a concierge is a very schmoozy position. And a lot of people are very, they have ulterior motives because they want your tips, they want your money. And so
Yeah.
they're nice to you to get a tip. And I was so genuine. That's why people would say that. And so I just listened to them, and I started acting in student films. I started to audition in student films in Boston. And I realized then that is what I loved. And so after 3 years working in this hotel, I quit the hotel industry. I traveled to New Zealand. I backpacked for 2 months to clear my head of the toxic atmosphere of a corporate life.
Yeah.
It destroyed me. I didn't like it. And when I came back from this 2-month like sabbatical, this little like soul searching trip, I came back, started acting full time, and just grinded, and that's what got me here. And now, I travel so much, and that also stems from Disney, is that never left me, is wanting to understand the cultures and different people and how they live, because my bubble was just too small in Massachusetts. And so I think that decision to work in Disney, where I was this close to just partying with my friends in university, that close, and that changed the trajectory of my entire life, I think, and it's still with me to today.
Incredible. Like you said that your bubble was quite small in Massachusetts, but
Yeah.
as a kid growing up or as a teenager, was there any curiosity at all about what was outside of Massachusetts, even in terms of like different food or any sort of different people or music, or was there any kind of interest at all?
I would say minimal, and it's just because sometimes in these in certain states and certain suburbs of big cities like Boston, I didn't spend a lot of time in Boston, and a lot of the people even that I grew up with and know to this day, they're townies. It's easy to just stay where you are all of your life. It's comfortable. You know the area. You can get jobs. You've got your family right there. A lot of the people I know, they've never left.
Mm-hmm.
I still know people who have never left my hometown, and they
Wow.
maybe never will. And hey, to each his own. It's easy to do that. And also, if people were even closer to Boston, Boston is a funny place. It's a very, very prideful city, meaning the people that are there from Boston with that New England culture, they are very, very proud of it.
Right. Okay.
And oftentimes they don't like outsiders, or they don't need to leave. Like, why would they ever leave Boston? It's got everything. Why would we ever leave here? Like it's Boston is the thing. It's like, this is the town. This is the best city in the world. And they never leave.
What a strange
And
attitude. It's very strange.
hey, the world takes all kinds to go around, and I don't know, it didn't suit me, because when I was meeting international cultures and trying different things, trying different food, when I just started to travel, I said, this is amazing.
Yeah.
To see how people live outside of my little world,
I was very lucky growing up because my dad's Chinese, my mum's Scottish, so I always had different cultures anyway. But the difference was, growing up when I was very young, it was so bullied for it, because I didn't look Scottish, and I always felt like I wanted to be normal. What's normal? No one's normal, right? I know that now as an adult. But I didn't look like my cousins from my dad's side, and I didn't look like my cousins from my mum's side. I didn't look like anyone in school, and also I was a weird kid, like, so that didn't help either. I read comics, and I played
You felt
guitar.
like a black You felt like a black swan.
Yeah, I was a total I was like a total black. I mean, no, my family don't even understand what I do. So like everything I've always done, I've always been a sort of outsider. Now it's people are all everyone's a nerd. And it's very cool now. But yeah,
I still don't understand what you do.
Nobody understands. I don't understand what I do half the time. I just get told to go places. That's my job. Go places and speak to people. But so I, the opposite way around, I wanted to be normal. Well, but now I don't want to be normal at all. But like back
Now, if you think about it, you are capitalizing on who you are now.
Oh yeah, never be normal. Like being normal is really boring. Like I hate normal. Like it's very uninteresting. But would you say growing up, even though you had that environment that you grew up in, would you consider yourself a normal kid, or were you always a little bit weird with outsider interests kind of thing?
I've always been mysterious to people. Yeah. I've always felt a little different, and it wasn't actually till very recently that I was able to understand that. It stems from my very particular personality type that I have, and it was actually therapy that helped me understand that. I went to therapy for a whole different purpose last year, and it was very transformative in my life. That could be a whole different conversation. But she helped me understand how my personality works. And even as an adult now, linking that back to my childhood, so much makes sense now. Of why I didn't feel like I exactly fit in. I was very chameleonic, and I can get along with a lot of different types of people, but I never felt like I was a part of their group. I could just mix and mingle well, But then when you go home, you still feel that detachment of like, that's not exactly me. They just liked me because I'm, I don't know, fun, goofy, and jovial. But so, yes, I always felt a little bit different, mysterious. I couldn't put my thumb on it. I didn't understand why until literally last year, and I'm 39. So
Better
I
late
get
than
it.
never,
But it's all part of the journey, and like I don't look back and say I wish I did this, I wish I learned earlier. It's all part of my story. I can't change that now, but I can change moving forward how I deal with it and how I use it to my benefit.
I've always kind of felt like, I don't know, like how you were in school and stuff. I think I got on with people to a point, but then I got very uncomfortable with hierarchy and rules, and that was my biggest problem. And then what I started to do was try my hardest. And when you're in school, you can't break free of that. You're in school, you can't buck the system and take it all down. But I kept thinking, why do I have to be here? Why do I have to? I went to school with a uniform, like it was like a proper. I went to an all-girls school, and it was like a proper uniform, and it's like, why do I have to wear this? Why do I have to be like this? Why do we had to do morning prayers as well? Like, and I was like, why do I have to pray? I don't believe in anything. Like, I was saying that when I was 14, like, and I can understand why I was an annoying pupil, because I was like, why? I don't think anyone hated me. I just was always like, why? And even now in work, I'm very wary of cliques. I'm very aware of group dynamics. I get on with people, but I'm like,
Same.
Like I kind of
group dynamics are like the more mature way to look at cliques. When we were kids and growing up, it's the same thing. It's just a little bit more mature. But yes, that exists. But going back to like what you touched upon, not wanting to conform, you had a natural aversion to conformity, and so did I. I hated the status quo. When my parents were urging me, they were like, okay, so you're almost out of high school, where are you going to college? And my first thing was like, why is that an automatic question? Like, why do I have to go to college? And they gave me parently advice about why it was good. But I didn't care. I applied to 3 schools. 3. Some of my friends applied to like 25, and they had like their wish list, like their top college. I didn't give one fuck. And that's really like a, like a privileged thing to say, because I had the means to do it. I'm still paying for it. I'll be paying for my college until 2036. I've been paying it for 20 years. But anyways, I didn't care about it. I didn't want to. Did it change my life? Yes. It took me where I am now. And it got me into Disney, which changed my whole life. So I don't regret it. But you know who it was? I think I told you this too. It was actually Metallica who gave me that like rebellious attitude. I would say from age like maybe 14, like maybe 13 to like 20. I was extremely rebellious, questioned everything. I wanted to just be me, and I didn't care what anyone else said. And it was because I listened. First of all, I loved their music. I loved their culture behind it. Just everything was so real when they were starting out. And I was watching like a really early interview with them when they were just starting out. They were in that like 1983, before I was born. And it was all about just like doing whatever the fuck they wanted to do in a time where like big hair bands were popular. You know, like, and they would all be like, you know, the hairspray and the fucking, they'd all dress up like women, which is fine. But Metallica would go on stage with like ripped jeans and t-shirts and just be like, we just go up there and just play our fucking music, and we don't care what anyone fucking wants. Like, and that, I would watch that. I was so impressionable, and I'd be like, something about that. I fucking like that. It's so raw and real. And that's the expression that I wanted to give off, you know?
Just doing what you want. Exactly. And I feel like from a very young age, you know, we're told to, like, you know, you're told on one hand to, express yourself and do whatever, but you're told to express yourself within a box, you know, and I think that's the problem that I have with pretty much all of society, because there's expression, but it doesn't ever feel like free expression. Like, you know, even if, like, I'm very lucky now. Basically all of my friends are like actors or comedians or musicians, so we all kind of get it. But the one time I have to step out, or there's a few times where I have to step out and talk to people with 9 to 5s, I call them the normies. Like, and I have to talk
the normies.
I have to talk to normies. There's nothing wrong with any of that at all, but the 1 or 2 times where I have to do that, I get like eye rolls, or like for example, I was at a birthday party a couple years back, and I got introduced as the one that likes video games, and we're all the same age. Everyone was in their late 30s, and this guy tapped me on the shoulder at this party, and he went, "Are you Claire?" And I was like, "Yeah." He went, "Do you stream on Twitch?" And he's like, I went, "Yeah." And they went, they told me you stream. I'm a games developer. And then we kind of like hung together, and we were like, oh, thank God I can talk to you about like stuff and things. We talked about Fallout 3 for a long time, and Mass Effect 2, and how terrible Mass Effect 3 was, and it felt like a relief, you know, because otherwise we're like, oh, that's nice that you do that thing. It's like, these are proper things that the adults do. Why is it so weird and abnormal to people? I don't know. I'm not judging you people at the party for having a boring ass job. Don't judge me. Do you know what I'm saying?
I just, and plus, like, I knew to, wait, where do I launch this off of? I guess when I developed kind of like that rebellious attitude and way of life, one thing, you know, that's evolved. That was 20 years ago too, but it's now evolved to always making really bold decisions, doing what I feel is right versus like what is safe and stable and secure. And every time now of a crossroad decision, kind of like Disney, and I've had many since then, of like, should I do this or do this wild, crazy thing that could change my life forever? I usually choose that one because it's more of a roller coaster. It's more interesting. It's like guaranteed to be interesting. And it might be a harder path, but God damn it, do I have stories? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I keep that with me too, and I'm proud of that too, because I've met so many people, and you probably have as well, who have a lot of money and they have good positions and jobs, and maybe they're really supportive of their family, which is great. But some of them that I know, it's like they haven't lived a day in their life. And when I tell them, even when I started acting, I was making peanuts. So I go from making boatload of money in my early 20s at the hotel It was like more money than I knew what to do with at the time, to making peanuts in a shitty world economy in like 2008, 9, 10. And I would tell them about like, oh, I'm doing this action film in a broken down warehouse, or like I'm flying down to like Pennsylvania to do an action film over here, and they would look at me and be like, these people with stable jobs, they would be like, that is the coolest thing in the world. And now that I travel the world and like my job takes me all over the planet, some of them look at it and they're like, wow, how do I do that? Or like, why didn't I do something like that? And they're making millions. And that's the perspective change, is like, you know, the grass is never greener on the other side. But like, you and I, we don't lead boring lives. We don't.
Well, that's the thing though. Like I actually was watching, I'm never going to change, but I was watching, is it The Art of Not Giving a Fuck or something? It was on Netflix. Now, I thought this show, this documentary or whatever it was going to be about this guy going, don't give a shit about anything and do whatever you want. Do you know what? I was surprised. It wasn't that. It's about a guy that was leading a very interesting life. He still does. Traveled everywhere, made bold decisions, dated like millions of girls. He was just like, but always, they weren't always the right ones. And he said, you know what? He was like, at one point you have to choose though. You have to choose. And now he's settled, and but he's still obviously doing cool stuff. And I thought about that, and I was thinking, am I just scared of making a choice? Like, not that I'm going to settle down and go, oh, I'm going to live here forever and have a house and blah, 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 blah. But I think I am very scared of making more solid choices. And then that reflects through things like the people I'm attracted to or the situations I put myself in, because it's almost like I'm addicted to or enjoy the feeling of, just being like, whatever.
Yes.
There's no solid thing at all.
Well, that's what you and I really have in common, is that I say to people that I live my life very liquid. You know, like I keep my life liquid, meaning I don't really have a lot of ties. I can up and move anytime. I can go here without asking anyone's permission. My life changes so frequently. There's something about it. I don't know if this is like an issue that I have to like confront or deal with, or just a desire of mine, is when people ask me like, hey, what are you doing in 3 weeks? I like to have the honest answer, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because when I would talk to these people who I know who have those steady lives, these secure lives, and they were in a company, they knew where their paycheck was going to come from, and they knew their trajectory for like the next 10 to 15 years, you know, working up the corporate ladder. Mm-hmm. They knew what they were going to do, and that scares the shit out of me, because I don't get bored easy in my life because I have so many hobbies, but I do get bored in situations. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If someone's like, hey, Nick, what you're doing right now, this is going to be you 7 years from now.
Oh, no,
I will baby puke in my mouth.
That's like death. You might as well just curl up and shrivel into nothing. Like...
Right. And I feel like I need more control over the out of control portion of my life. I like to be able to do anything. You know what I mean? Like, I guess we are commitment phobes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many aspects with relationships, with situations, living situation, jobs. We're commitment phobes.
Like,
that's it.
That's a problem, though, I think. I think it's a slight problem.
Okay, well, it can be. But I think, like, with anything else, there are pros and cons.
There is. Now, I'm not saying I'm unhappy. I'm actually probably the happiest I've been for a long time. I know myself more. Very, very happy like this. But then, so this is what I talk about to my therapist about. So I've been seeing my therapist for 8 or 9 years, right? So, and I said to her recently, I keep choosing, like, say with people, you're choosing the same sort of, I'll say men, keep choosing the same sort of guys. And she was like, that's just because you don't want to commit to anything. So you are always going to be very drawn to men that are not committed to anything. And I was like, oh yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, it's my fault. But then she said, well, what
There's
if
nothing wrong with it.
as I talked to her about various situations, and she said, well, what if X, Y, or Z person turned around to you and went, Claire, yes, let's do this. I was like, oh no.
You'd push them away.
Yeah, but then that's terrible, because that's like a sad thing, because I think love and romance and all of those things are just wonderful, because there's a big part of me that misses that, and it's so wonderful, especially the early stages, that big romance and, you know, running down the street singing songs and being drunk with someone and talking all night long and like eating great food and watching sunsets. All of those things I love, all those amazing things, but I don't know, like I got a big block. I'm like, nope. Like, so it's like, that's sad. I think that's a wee bit sad. Like, so then you just have to cut that part of yourself off and just live like a robot, like a traveling robot, which is sad.
Well, that's what I've been able to do. I've been single for 4 years and going through a lot of my stuff too. You know, I have my own walls and everything, and it's because, kind of like you, I'm petrified of someone getting like really, really attached because of the way that I am, and I don't think I'm there yet. There's a possibility I'll never be there, but I have a non-committal, I guess, lifestyle. I like it like that. But yes, like, do you miss the companionship? Of course. It is a lovely thing. I'm still trying to like maybe like define where I am now. Because a lot of things change, and therapy did help me last year, and so I'm still formulating like, who is Nick now? Like, what, you know, moving forward, what can we do? And I might even seek my same therapist again and find out, like, you know, what is next. We found out what was wrong, and it was like, it's changed my life. And so now I'm like a very healthy version of me, but still moving forward is like still a little bit cloudy. There's a cloud in front of me of like, I don't know what the answer is, but...
What's the cloud though? Because clearly you like work. Clearly you're a traveler. You know, those are true things. You get on with people. You love the world. You know, you like meeting people. You like food and all these things. So where does the cloud sit over? You know, what kind of area of your life is the cloud sitting over?
Very direct. It's relationships.
Oh.
So when I've been asked just to select a few times in the past, recent past, of, you know, what are you looking for? Like, what would you want out of a relationship? My answer is, I don't know.
Maybe it's okay not to know. I mean...
Well, that's the cloud.
And maybe the cloud is... Maybe that's okay. Like, I think, having come out of a very long relationship and a very traditional relationship, I would say that I think we are conditioned to, and this is me saying nothing bad about my previous relationship, I will not do that because it was great, but like, I would say that we are conditioned to want certain things, you know, and be sure of certain things when we're maybe not so sure. Or, for example, when I was first single, I had half of my friends saying, be alone, and the other half of my friends saying, get on the apps. It's like, no, maybe just no one say anything. And
same, yeah.
You know, just it'll come. But I do truly believe that if you do meet the right person, regardless of how committal, non-committal, whatever you are, you'll know. You just know. And they'll fit in with your life. Well, that's what I'm hoping anyway. They'll fit in with your life, and you'll fit in with their life, and there'll be no drama. It'll just be like, oh, I can't stop this. This is really great. And that's, I think, you'll just know it. And so don't seek it. Just be thankful for where you are, I think. And I think that's a positive thing.
Yeah. I would say months and months and months ago, I was in a much worse place when it came to this, because it would really bother me when I would think about it, because I didn't know. I don't like not knowing how I feel, you know, because I'm such an intrinsic thinker, you know. But now, yeah, like my whole energy and vibe has changed around this because I don't care as much, and it's allowing me to just like really just be myself and like be the person that most close people in my life know me to be, and also strangers. So when I meet people out and about in my travels or whatever, right now I'm giving off like very pure Nick vibes, and I like that.
That's
because I think that's the best chance that I have at succeeding in life in any area, whether it's work, relationships, friendships, opportunities. I need to be pure, you know.
Yes, you do. I am not pure, as you know. I am very unpure.
I don't mean it like that. Pure Claire can be pretty wild and dirty, but
there's no
I don't mean
version
it
of
like that.
pure Claire. I'm not wholesome.
Yes, it is. I'm not. There's a whole difference between wholesome and pure.
Okay, right. What's the difference between wholesome and pure?
That's easy. So pure, when we're talking about pure, that means unfiltered, Claire. You're not cut with anything from the streets.
Sure.
You're not watered down. We're getting the most potent version of you in a little vial.
It's very potent.
That's the pure Claire. Wait, but wholesome, that's a personality type. That's a characteristic. We're not talking about that.
I'm so
Pure is a potency. Pure is a measure of potency, whereas wholesome is a characteristic.
And I am allergic to wholesome. Like I'm like.
Okay, I know you are. You're a bad influence on me. I'm almost less wholesome because I know you.
He's becoming less wholesome just every minute that passes on this podcast. He's like, oh, I feel a change in the force. Oh, I feel it.
Yeah.
I've never. There's nothing wrong with wholesome folks as well. I've met some really lovely people, wholesome folks. I've just never been like that. My brain's wonky. I've just never been like that. Like it just.
Let me ask you a question. I want to ask you this, and I know you're going to be honest with me.
Okay.
On a level of like 1 to 100, how wholesome do you think I am?
Really? Do you want me to answer that?
I want to ask you this.
I think that you are actually quite wholesome. I think you are. I'm going to compare it in comparison to me. I think that you are quite wholesome. Okay, I'm gonna give you like 60. It's just above halfway. Just above halfway.
Okay, that's actually lower than I thought you were gonna go.
I was gonna go a bit higher, and then I thought, no, I've got a feel. People have layers, so I was like, no, you got layers. I know you've got layers. So
layers.
You've got lots of layers. You're Batman. Remember, you're Batman.
Bonafide. Does the people above 50? Do they start to someone above like 75? Does that repulse you?
I think.
Get away from me, wholesome man.
Get away from me, you wholesome. Yuck. Yeah, anything above like 70, 75, I'm like, no, too wholesome. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what that.
Layers.
I don't even know what that would look like, because most of my friends are just not wholesome. So I don't even know what that would look like. Okay, I've got a question for you. How wholesome do you think I am on a scale of 1 to 100?
like 7.5.
Correct. That would be correct. I almost pressed my stream deck button to do the woohoo sound, but I forgot I'm not streaming. So, yes, that would be correct. I think
considering that, it makes me like you even more.
Well, like, we're gonna have to unwholesome you.
You keep going silent. You keep muting. Are you doing anything?
No, I think your internet's buggered.
Why?
I don't know. Like, hold on, let me just like time pause it here. 39:39.
My internet.
Yeah, like it's all kind of like stayed.
It's possible.
Yeah, hold on, let me just turn everything off. Just make sure.
No, it's okay. It's not that bad. It's fine.
I got you. Let me just take the time code 3939. Okay, got you. Okay, I'll pick up from there. Yeah, I think you're okay now. Yeah, your video keeps going weird and stuff. Okay.
That's weird.
So why? Okay. So let me ask you this. We've talked about not being wholesome versus pure and blah blah. And you've said to me, I'm Batman. What makes you Batman though? So we're going from the wholesome chat to the
You call me Batman. Well, let's be clear about that.
That's true. Why do you think I call you Batman?
Pisces Batman.
You are a Piscean Batman.
Because
you're a fish.
maybe they'll cast me in the sequel.
You're like you could be like an Aquaman Batman crossover thing, like just a giant fish in the cape and cowl.
I'll talk to the animated series about it. We'll make it happen.
Please.
Why do I think you call me Batman?
Yes.
Because I'm broody.
Are you
dark.
broody though? Are you?
I'm a thinker.
Are you? I think I could outbrood you. I think you're quite cheery.
We could have we would have an epic brood off.
Oh really? How would that look? Okay, so if you're on your own and you're brooding, right? What does that look like? Are you in your pajamas? Are you unshowered? You don't wash for days? Are you like that kind of brooder? Or are you just like a don't talk to me? I'm thinking kind of guy?
Yeah, I could sit in a dark room and listen to music that I love, but I wouldn't call it happy music. Very tonal, ambient, or just really like emotional, instrumental type shit that brings out some really interesting emotions in me. I use that when for certain characters and certain scenes and emotions, I use music to trigger emotions so I can get there emotionally for a scene. But in life, when I'm dealing with something, sometimes, yes, I could sit in a dark room, maybe put on like a candle and just sit there with my thoughts. And I have sat on a couch and stared at candlelight for 10, 12 hours.
Oh my God. You really are like a fishy Batman.
I can do that to try to figure things out and work through shit, but it's literally just in my mind. I'm very in tune with emotions. I think you said that you don't express emotions very easily. But you work it out through music. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the only time I feel very receptive to how I'm feeling is when I'm playing guitar and I'm singing, and it's either my songs or someone else's. So, but that's
your outlet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's your outlet then. Yeah. Well, I don't feel creative when I get broody, but I want to listen to music that makes me feel stuff. But I'm very open with my emotions. It's not a strange thing for me to ever to weep about anything, or just get through it, or just go through those painful moments and try to get past them. And then after that bout of sadness is done, I come out of it and I say, okay, what was that all about? What do we think about it now? So yes, layered for sure. Broody Batman.
You're such a Pisces. You are such a Pisces.
You're not wrong.
You're such a Pisces. I've got almost no water signs in my astrological chart, which is not a great thing because I'm quite a blocked.
Why? But do you feel you get along with water signs? I mean, you and I get along. It's pretty easy for us to just chill and have a good time. And we're complete opposites, it seems like, in that sense.
I could explain that astrologically. Do you want me to get really nerdy with you?
Let's go. You're one of the biggest nerds I know, so let's do it.
Okay. I've looked at your chart because you gave me all your details. And so your big three are your sun's in Pisces, your moon is in Aquarius.
Yes, I know that.
And your rising sign is Gemini. So your moon sign gets on very well with my sun sign because they're both air signs. Aquarius and Libra get on very, very well. your rising sign as well is also an air sign, so you've got a lot of head energy. So for a Pisces, keep joking you're a Pisces. You're such a Pisces. That's your emotional side. But you're in your head, overthinking, analytical thing. That's your air signs. You're weird. Your fondness for weirdness and doing things your way. That's your Aquarian rebelliousness. You know. So there's like elements there. I'm an air sign, and I've got a fire sign rising. Fire and air go really well. And my moon sign's Capricorn, and that's earth. And your watery sun sign goes well there. So you start to, in astrology, you can cross them all over, and you can start to go, oh, that's where that connects, and that's where that connects, kind of thing. Even
Sure.
though
So we have our necessary compatibilities. That's why we mesh together.
they all cross over. On the
Cross over.
outside, I'm like, oh, you're a Pisces. Ugh.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. You're right about that. Yes. But what I'm learning, like, I don't know as much about astrology as you do, but I've heard many things. I have a lot of friends that talk about it. What I will say about my Pisces, though, is what that gives me is just the ability to do it all. So it's easy, it's natural, it's the ability. However, I can shut that off. I can be like, right now, I don't need you, Pisces. I don't need you. Go over there. Go.
Yeah, it's the air shit. That's because you got the air stuff. I can tell
right.
you your whole chart right now. I got it in my Astrology Master app.
Jesus, look at you all ready for this.
I got like all my friends on here. I'm ready.
But that's what makes me, I think, number one, mysterious to people, confusing to people who really, really know me. Like maybe my ex-girlfriend, who, like, because I would be like very hardcore like this for a little bit. And then I would just like shift gears, whatever was serving me at that time, and I would shift gears to something else and be a completely different person. And people close to me, sometimes they take that personal because they don't understand how I can be so this over here and then the next day be so this. I'm very, like, my whole life is a dichotomy.
That's your
and
Gemini rising.
That's what was tough growing up when I didn't understand any of this stuff. It's like, why am I like this? I thought maybe I was like bipolar or something, but it's not. It's just that I'm just capable of being a lot of different things. Depending on the day, however I feel.
It's a good thing.
I'm going to be a very different person to certain people. I don't do it on purpose.
No, I think that's a really, really good thing. I think it's good, especially with what you're doing in your job. I think it's a really good thing to be able to kind of flip and switch and go with the flow and get on with people, and also get in your feels for roles or to feel something. I think that's as a creative person and a storyteller, that's a very handy thing. Okay, I'm going to tell you about the rest of your chart. So,
shit. Okay.
Your
strapping.
Are you ready for this? Okay, your Mercury. So Mercury is the way you communicate, and that's also in Pisces. So quite a sort of softly spoken, soft communicator, and quite sort of like Pisces is a dreamy, creative sign. It's an emotional sign. So yes, well, there's some head energy there. There'll be the way in which you speak might not always be direct. It might confuse people, or it might confuse you.
100%. Yes. Wow. Holy shit.
Pisces. And then you've got, let's see, Venus is in Aquarius. So Venus is what you're attracted to in romantic partners, and also it's about comfort. So Venus is in Aquarius. So what you prefer from romantic partners and love in general is a buddy, a friend, and someone you can share interests with that's 100%. On the same level as you. And it's not like, oh my God, it's like, no, like you can like do stuff together, like a buddy.
Yes, 100%. Thank you for saying that. Sometimes I need to be reminded.
Yes, so that's that. And then your Mars. So Mars is like sexy times. Mars is like your sex drive. It's your way, it's your work ethic as well. It's all about assertion, right? So if you think about Mars as the planet. So it's in Scorpio. That's a very dark water sign. Another water sign. So Scorpio, Mars, quite intense. So it's a very intense placement. So I think...
It can be very intense.
I think for you, you place a lot of importance on in the very private, most private areas of your life. And also when you are working, you go hard. and you absolutely. So that Scorpio brings like a real darkness and an intensity and a seriousness as well.
Part of my Batman.
That's where your Batman is right there. That's the Batman.
The Scorpion Batman. Yeah.
That's your Batman. My chart's so like earth. It's so like work hard, no emotions, just work. Like,
but you do share your emotions and you express with your music, and your music is very like it's soulful. That's when I hear you sing. When I heard your recordings, I can feel that, and a lot of music is not like that. Some people just play and they have great voices, but I can feel that that's what you use it as an outlet.
It's like it feels like I think playing guitar and singing feels like a mask. So I guess like the way that maybe some actors would say, oh, I feel like I'm not being myself. I'm not myself. When you are actually putting yourself into your.
It is you. Yeah. Why do you think it's a mask? It is you.
But
that's probably like more pure Claire than most people get.
Maybe. Stop exposing me, Nick. Jesus. Jesus.
Part of what I do as a Batman.
God's sake. Okay, well, I'm Alfred, and Alfred needs to go and, like, iron your underwear. So, like, leave me alone,
I don't wear
Batman.
Underwear, so.
Oh, or your socks. I'm sure he has socks. Batman doesn't wear. Wait, Batman doesn't wear underwear, or you don't wear underwear?
I go commando sometimes.
Oh my God, okay, right, okay. I'm gonna write this down. 51 minutes 30. I'm gonna just write exposed. Just exposed. This will be the clip, you know that.
I do believe in that. I don't study up on it as much as people like you do, but everything I've heard, like, I'm a believer. Because when they rip me apart for like Pisces and they expose me, it's all true. Like, I'd say 98% of it is just pretty spot on, and I can relate to it. And even with the Gemini stuff and like the Scorpio, and like it does help me make sense of it all, along with some personality tests. I don't know if you and I have ever talked about that, with like Myers-Briggs and stuff, and that's what my therapist largely has helped me understand, is like really, like, in addition to Pisces, the way that I'm wired, like, to the roots, like, it helps me explain to people who I am.
That's good that you've got those kind of markers. For me, it's astrology. I mean, I have done the Myers-Briggs thing, but I can't remember what my thing is. I'll have to look at it again. But for me, it's astrology for sure. Like, I know my chart inside out. I know why I'm a commitment phobe. I know why I like travel, and I know why I'm doing this job, because it's in the chart, and that's the chart you're born with. It's almost like your destiny.
You're born with it, but I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I had an interesting conversation with somebody about personalities, Myers-Briggs and stuff, and you could meet two people who have the exact same readings, we'll say, but they are different in their own ways because of what they've experienced. And so I guess my question for you is, you said if I was to read your chart, I would understand why you're a commitment phobe, but does your last relationship, has that changed it? It must have had some kind of impact and influenced what you are right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's not something like I talk about so much, but like.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. I don't mean to.
No,
I'm just curious.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, it's colored my view one way or the other about relationships. That's all I'll say. And
so it's influenced.
It has influence, but there's also got together when we're very young, and you change over time. Like, sure. There's all sorts of things that go into it, but it's colored my view one way or the other about things. It's made me realize things about myself. One way or the other. I think that's the best. That's the probably most neutral way that I could say it for a podcast.
No, that's fair. I didn't mean for you to like get all into this. The only reason I asked that is because I've been a Batman all my life, I think. But my last relationship has really influenced like where I am right now, and it still has a lasting effect for me, and that was 4 years ago. And so that's the only reason I ask, simply out of curiosity.
Oh, and I think it's a good thing one way or the other because everyone that enters our lives and every experience that we have, good or bad, it's like a painting, it colors the painting, and it's like there's inflections and like brush
Absolutely.
strokes, and you become this very unique painting by the end of your life. Even if your charts are similar or whatever it may be, it's an interesting life that it just colors it, So I don't regret anything. I don't get upset about bad things. I do, but I don't, not for too long. And I think it's interesting who we meet in life. Like I ascribe a lot of meaning to the people that I really like in life. I'm like, oh, I know why I met you. Why did I?
Yeah.
I know I'm learning from this person, or they might not be in my life forever, but this is a good like marker. I'll remember them. It's so I ascribe a lot of meaning onto things.
They leave an impact. I used to say this as an artist. I do my drawings and stuff, and a long time ago, I had an understanding of this when I was like 20 years old. I wrote this big thing about my life for a retreat that I went on a long time ago, and a part of it in there, it says, when you're born, you have a portrait of yourself when you're born, and as you grow up, people, like influential people, come into your life, and they'll take certain lines of your portrait, they'll smudge them, erase them, tweak them, add to them, and by the time you turn around, your portrait's different, but the most important people were the ones who changed what you look like.
Yeah.
I just related it to art, and I do believe that the most important ones are the ones that leave the effect, and they'll stay with you whether you're not friends with them anymore, they're not in your life or whatever, but they had that impact.
Yeah.
And you would not be who you are today without knowing them.
Yeah, 100%. That's why
Select few, though. It's like select few, I would say. We meet thousands of people.
Yes. All
A couple
the time.
dozen.
All
A couple
the time.
dozen are the ones that are like, holy shit, this person is like.
I agree, because like I don't know, I think in this last year specifically, I've probably had very pointed and poignant experiences, more so in the last week, like how many years of my life, and also met, not lots and lots, but met people that have very much impacted, that really have made me think, or people that I've become friends with and gone, I know I'm gonna like know you for a long time, or like people that I've met from LA. I know if I move to LA, instant friends. Like I've got like a friendship. I mean, I've already got friends in LA, but I'll have like so it's quite comforting. But it's only because of a great loss that I was able to make space for.
You made space for it.
Yeah.
And plus, when you have that great loss, I think you become more impressionable, because there's that void that you got to fill, and you're like, okay, what can I fill this with? And you absorb more, and you find out, we are of a mature age now, and I think you have a better idea of what's healthy for you.
Absolutely.
Coming in, you can identify it way better. If this person comes in, you're like, yes, you're a keeper. You, not so much.
Yeah, I got no time for nonsense, but and like people, I'm quite honest, like if I don't like someone, it's very obvious. Like I'm not nasty. I
would love to see when you don't like someone.
Oh, I go grey. I just go. My friend calls it going grey. I just kind of go like, there's like no person. Like I'm nothing. I'm like cardboard. Like I don't want to talk. I won't speak, and I won't even look at them. Like I don't care. Like they're dead to me. So, and I don't care. I'm like friendly, but I just go grey. Like that's it. So you can tell pretty quick, because my time's precious and I can't be bothered wasting it. So, and I'm very impatient. That's my Sagittarius rising. You'll learn, very impatient, super impatient.
Why have you not sent me your chart? Because I'll read it. I want to know.
Oh yeah, I'll send you my chart. My chart's like, I don't know, fucked up.
What do you mean? Why is it fucked up? It's different.
My friend's an astrologer. She did my birth chart for me, and she was like, oh, you got like Venus and Mars in the 8th house. And I was like, what does that mean? And she went, the 8th house is about death and sex and transformation. I was like, and she was like, you got Venus and Mars in there. That's really potent. I was like, nice.
Death and sex and blackness and badass. All right, cool.
I quite like that though, because I was like, that explains. Like, it's all about the hidden as well. Like hidden, like it's not out there. It's just about, you know, that's my Batman. Like, you know, so
You are a bit Batman too. You always accuse me. You're a Batman too.
I'm more Batman than you. I'm only
I believe.
I'm
I
only
believe you.
7.5% wholesome. You're 60% wholesome. So you're like you're more Robin. You're like no.
Do you think like every time that we hang out in real life that we will start to reach a little bit of an equilibrium where you go a little bit more and I go a little less?
Oh, maybe we'll get to the point where we're just like right in the middle, and we're like,
And we meet somewhere around like 35.
yeah, 35 is acceptable. That's totally fine. That's
Okay.
considerably more wholesome than I would like to be, but that's absolutely fine. That's okay.
Okay, next time I meet you, I'm gonna make sure I order my wholesome meter off Amazon.
Totally starts bleeping. But anyway, on that note, I do have to end this podcast. It's been wonderful. This is probably the longest one. This is probably the longest one I've ever done. Nick, it has been absolutely wonderful chatting to you. I'm going to put all your social links out when we put the podcast out. For those watching on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe. For those listening along on Audible and Spotify and everywhere else, hit whatever button that says subscribe. And Nick, do you have a parting shot for the people? What do you want to say to the people before we go?
Oh geez, I don't know. I just spilled out so much of my guts to you.
Yeah, what now? I mean, you've talked about all sorts of like
Thanks.
vibrations and Batman and like.
This was a good one. This is one for the ages. I don't know. Thanks for watching. I'm really just at a loss. Like I gave you all my best stuff, Claire, so I got nothing left.
It's a very wholesome end. Thank you very much, Nick. Guys, thank you very much for watching and listening along to Hot Pod Time Machine. I've been Claire, this has been Nick, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.
Hot Time Machine.